Good to be here with you. I'm glad you're raising awareness of this. I'm going to go as quickly as I possibly can because I don't know how much time I'm going to take up. But let's talk about fentanyl for just one quick second. Local reporting out of Tucson was that last year 13 million fentanyl pills were seized in Arizona alone. 13 million. DEA has said 40% of all fentanyl pills seized have a lethal dose of fentanyl in them. Now, I want you to think about that. Now, you add that 13 million and you take it into what agents and local law enforcement has told us, and that is they only interdict 8 to 10%. That means you've got over 100 million fentanyl pills floating around. The cartels control all of the border between every port of entry on our border with Mexico. Let me give you an example of a story out of southern Arizona recently, just in the last couple of weeks. A lady was found wandering around. Deputies, local law enforcement deputies, found her, assisted her. What did she have on her possession? A bag full of pills. They wanted to know what this was, whether this illicit drug or illicit, what's going on. She said, "These are morning after pills. I knew when I'd be coming across the border that I would be raped multiple times, so I brought a bunch of morning after pills." That's fact. That's what's happening. It's not humane on the border. So I find myself baffled by this. So let's talk about cartels a little bit more. In a story from just early January, and I've been down to the border and talked to this team since then, a cartel, a Mexican cartel, put out a hit on Cochise County Sheriff's deputies, 2 of them, because they are on the border team. There's a small border team down there. They're very effective, and they had a hit put on them by a cartel. So what happens? What happens? Why is the Biden administration ignoring this crisis? Let's take a look at something else. In September of last year, I said, how many unaccompanied children have been brought into the country? Have you allowed in? 110,000 roughly. They finally responded to a series of questions I had just this week. They said, we've lost contact with 20,000 of those children. They basically lost 20,000 unaccompanied children. This is the border under President Biden. Now, in Cochise County, 82 miles, remote border crossing area. Between the Border Patrol and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, about 16,000 illegal immigrants are detected every month in a huge, huge county. 2 years ago, the county recorded an average of 400 to 500 illegal aliens per month. Let's give it to you more starkly. Under the Trump policies, you slowed down illegal immigration. Under the Biden policies, you went from 400 to 500 people a month in this massive county to now 16,000 a month. And what are they paying to the cartels? Minimum $1,000, but typically more like $4,000 per person coming in. Most of these folks don't have $4,000. So what happens? They become indentured servants of cartels, and they're located, and I know Mr. Davidson is going to show you a map. They're in virtually every community in the country. So there's a reporter named Jorge Ventura. And Jorge does a lot of work on the border issues. And I want to talk to you about cartels again and how they've infiltrated not just the border, but they are also beyond the border. A year ago, there were illegal marijuana farms in Southern California. There was about 100 in LA County. That's a huge county, both geographically and population-wise. Its neighboring county, San Bernardino County, they had about 200 to 300. Today, over 200 marijuana farms, illicit marijuana farms in LA County, and over 1,100 in San Bernardino County. Now, why is that important? What's important is for you to understand that those are coming in from cartels. Lancaster Mayor Rex Parris said in July of last year that it is the cartels. They had seized more than 16 tons of marijuana worth about $1.2 billion. And the mayor said, quote, "We're very, very close to driving down the freeway and seeing bodies hanging from the overpasses. That is what's coming." And why does he say that? Because the cartels are ruthless. They have little value for human life. When you hear about children, toddlers being thrown over a border fence, that's the coyotes. Who do they work for? The cartels. When you hear of 2, 3, 4-year-old children wandering around in 115-degree heat in Arizona's desert without an adult present and without water, that's the cartels. They don't care about human life. This is a business enterprise, and the product is to move people and drugs into the country. So what happened just a week ago? Not even a week ago. Prosecutors in Mexico, in the town of San Jose de Gracia, in a western state of Michoacan, said they can't determine how many people were killed because attackers cleaned up the scene and removed any bodies. And Mexicans have been left wondering what happened to about a dozen men who disappeared after they were seen lined up against a wall by drug cartel gunmen in this small village. In a video filmed by a resident of the town, that was later posted on social media, bursts of gunfire break out, smoke covers the scene, the camera cuts away, and all the men, perhaps as many as 17, were killed. That's what cartels do. Cartels do not care about human life. And when I've had briefings, multiple briefings, as I go down to the border virtually every month of every year, and I wonder where the borders are and this administration is. She got to El Paso, almost made it to the border, didn't quite get there. Kind of like when she went over to Ukraine, she made it to Germany, didn't make it into Ukraine. And I look and I say, what happened? Why is this happening? And my briefers tell me, the border is controlled by cartels. Between every port of entry, no one enters this country without the cartel knowing about it. When I was in the Tucson sector right before Christmas, I went down and you see 2 miles of fencing, and there's 8 feet of gap, then another 2 miles of fencing, and then it just stops, and then it goes for literally 60 miles with no fencing other than Normandy barriers. And I went to the gap, and I'm standing there looking at into Mexico, and you could see that gap is where all the pathways lead, and there's all the debris and crud that's out there. All the debris and crud that's out there. And I'm just, I'm at my folks that were with me. I said, please videotape us. I'm going to explain what's going on here. I didn't bother to tell CBP because I get down a lot. Sometimes I tell them I'm going to be there. An agent rolls up. He says, who are you talking to? He didn't know who I was. I said, not talking to anybody. I'm doing the video here for my constituents. He says, I thought you were talking to the Cartel Scouts. So what do you mean? He says, we literally chased, before we detected you, we chased 4 Cartel Scouts back up through that gap. And they sit in a hooch on this little bluff. And that's where the Cartel Scouts are, as they're sending people through. And the way it works is this. They'll send a group of 100 people to someplace, maybe the San Miguel Gate, down near Sassabee, near the Tohono O'odham Reservation. And that takes the 4 or 5 people that are trying to patrol that area. They'll go to that gate. They have to process those individuals. It's so remote that it takes literally hours to remove those people and get them bused to a detention facility and processed. In the meantime, they will see what we call known gotaways, dozens of known gotaways rolling through other parts of that border. They're dressed in camouflage. They're wearing carpet shoes. They've got backpacks filled with fentanyl, methamphetamine on their backs. I'm just telling you, I appreciate my friend from Ohio, his efforts in this very important piece of legislation. And I call upon this administration, don't tell the American people. I'm reminded of The Darkest Hour. It's a movie with Winston Churchill. And the king says to Winston, don't lie to the people. Tell them the truth. I'm asking this administration, tell the people the truth. They can take it. They understand. Because last year, over 2 million, about 2,500,000 people entered this country illegally. Another 1.2 to 1.3 million entered legally. Now, of those 2.5 million, probably about 1.5 million are wandering around this country. They're somewhere in this country today. This administration let them go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would tell you, we have got to get control of our border. I find it remarkable that the Deputy Homeland Security Director was saying that we really need to protect the borders. You won't have a sovereign nation without a protected border. But he wasn't talking about our border, which isn't protected. He was talking about the Ukrainian border. And I asked them to have the same concern and care for the U.S.-Mexico border as they profess to have for the Ukraine border. And with that, Madam Speaker, I will yield back to my friend from Ohio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Biggs. Look, if we look over on the far right,